Have you heard about this videotape that kills you when you watch it?
What kind of tape?
A tape. A regular tape. People run it, I don't know. You start to play it, and it's like somebody's nightmare. Then suddenly, this woman comes on, smiling at you, right? Seeing you through the screen. And as soon as it's over, your phone rings. Someone knows you've watched it. And what they say is, you will die in 7 days. And exactly 7 days later.
Hello and welcome to What Makes It Scary, a seasonal podcast unleashing the fear behind your favorite and not so favorite horror movies. I'm your host, Mr. Red, Alex of Mr. Red Productions. And with me, as always, is Clever Girl, Jody Henderson of Clever Girl Effects.
Oh, you completely slipped into Squidward there. Not so favorite horror movies.
I didn't mean to. I was trying to do my SpongeBob impression, so I don't know how it turned out so bad.
Well.
Today we have a treat in store for you.
Yeah.
So, there are movies that are made, and then there are movies that are remade. And they're different.
Yes.
And that's why I'm introducing this episode, because it's the male reboot.
Yes, it is.
It's the male
reboot. Haven't the males been rebooted enough?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Actually, they need to be rebooted a couple more times because we haven't got it right
Ocean's
yet.
8, Ghostbusters. That's 2 examples.
Definitely.
But no, we're not talking about those movies today.
No.
Although Ghostbusters, kind of a horror movie. No, today we're talking about The Ring.
Ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring.
Let me answer this. You will embarrass yourself in 7 minutes.
Start a timer. Let's see if we can do it.
Okay, let's look at the clock.
Okay. Yes, The Ring.
Yeah. Boy. So, all right. This is a zeitgeist of a movie.
Yes.
This is the cultural phenomenon. Want to talk about it?
Yes. But to start talking about it, we would first have to talk about
the Japanese movie just called Ring, it's cleaner, like Facebook. And this is a movie... Thank you.
You're right. Listen, you always tell me I have to laugh at your jokes, and when I actually laugh at one, you stumble. You don't know what to do.
One day we'll release an unedited version of this podcast where it's just me saying, Jody, laugh.
And me not laughing.
And you're not laughing. But this movie came out in 1998. Now, this is 2 years after Scream, which I mentioned because of how, obviously it's a Japanese movie. Scream is an American movie, but how, anti-Scream it is.
Yes.
Just structurally, it begins in a similar way. And that's really the main reason I pointed out, because it has this cold open where somebody gets killed, and then that sparks the rest of the movie. But unlike Scream, Scream is very bold in how it starts.
Right. It's got a, what would we say, 13-minute long intro
long.
With Drew Barrymore and apparently Wes Craven in the suit at one point,
really?
even. Yeah.
Huh. But that movie really punches you in the gut, so to speak, in the beginning with
literally, in the gut, tears them right out.
Seriously,
eviscerated.
And it's gruesome, and it puts you in this dreadful kind of state for the rest of the movie where you're like, oh, this is the scary thing. The Ring and Ring, the Japanese one, it doesn't do that. It's relatively tame. Sure, it might be shocking because there's a jump scare, but there's nothing. Even in the American one, there isn't a terrifying thing. So that was the one thing that I was like, man, I really wish they had done something just horrific in the beginning, just so that throughout the rest of the movie there was something you were dreading rather than just
See, I think they did that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so you had never seen these movies, any of them?
I feel like I have, just because of Scary Movie 3.
Oh.
Pop culture in general. This movie. It's similar to The Purge, how it's an immediately recognizable concept.
Right.
The Ring is the same way.
I watched this movie, if you're not going to ask when I watched it.
Nope.
I would say I was maybe 10.
Ooh, that's too young.
Let's see. 2002. Yeah, probably like recent, like when it first came out or whatever. Yeah, 10. And of course, I'm telling you, people, my cousins, they did this to me.
Yeah.
They like just seriously like made me watch horror movies. And I still am a very scared person most of the time.
I love that we have
a horror podcast. I think that's what makes it scary.
That's true, yeah.
Is that I am scared of everything and you're just not.
No. I am very much the God, what's his name? I already forgot his name, but I feel like his name is Josh.
For what?
The dad, the guy in this movie.
Oh, did I write it down? I feel like it starts with an A.
Aiden is the kid.
I know.
Okay.
But I feel like... Or Jack?
It's Noah.
Noah. Nowhere close. Okay.
I'm very much the Noah of this relationship.
Oh, very
which
much.
is a insult to me. Can I say off the bat before we even get into it? I hate this character so much.
He is very not great. For sure.
He's just like a limp noodle. He's just like some douche.
But he didn't have a limp noodle because he does have a kid.
Yeah,
anyway, me watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was terrified. And I've been terrified of it since then.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it. And I haven't watched the sequel. And I haven't watched the most recent one, Rings, that came out in 2017. I haven't watched them.
Until
I for this
we'll watch them
podcast.
for that.
What if I was just like, I hadn't seen it? I probably could kind of roll with that because I have such an eidetic memory.
You have a very strong memory. You will remember remember things about like, oh, you were that one time when you were wearing this shirt in 2005 or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm like, you didn't even know me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that's what makes it scary. Is how much you remember.
Is how much I remember.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I wish I could forget some stuff because this it's scary.
Okay, great.
And I told you, I was just like, I'm so excited about this entire season.
Yeah.
Except this episode, just because I'm so scared.
Well, what was our last season? You had something like that.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes, that you were dreading the whole time.
I was dreading the entire time, and we waited till the end. So I'm glad we're getting this done early.
You thought this time let's. And the other thing I want to say, we're kind of jumping around a little bit. It's okay.
It's fine.
I'm a little confused as to why we didn't put The Grudge on as well. Do like a twofer for this. Although we're getting into a lot of movies at that point. We try to keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
So. Just focusing on The Ring. Like I said, I did watch the Japanese. I actually watched 3 movies that you didn't watch because there's Ring.
Right.
There's Ring. Then they made a sequel called like Rasen, aka Spiral.
The Book of Spiral.
Well, no, but it's funny that that's a thing that exists too. But it was a sequel, and it was so poorly received that they made another sequel that completely ignored it. They made a movie called Ring 2.
So it follows the Halloween guide.
Kind of, yeah.
Nice.
Kinda.
I like it.
And it's very interesting to watch those movies, that all 3 of those came out before the American remake, and then watch this, because the things that they choose to like pull from are so interesting. I thought watching The Ring 2 that like, oh, this is admittedly, I'm gonna not bury the lead here. Kind of stupid movie.
It's very dull.
That has some weird stuff going on. All that stuff, most of that stuff is like in the Japanese movies in some capacity. So
yeah,
it'll be cool to like pick those out and say that's from Japanese. That's from the Japanese.
Yes. So we started watching The Ring.
Yes, 2002.
And so you had already seen the Japanese one. You're like, I watched this one, and now I'm gonna watch Ring 2002,
which again I had never seen until
right. And I was kind of bummed. I wanted to watch you watch this movie because this doesn't happen very often.
That's true.
That I've seen a movie that you haven't.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do it, and there were some parts that aren't in the Japanese one that I'm like, ooh, that's gonna get you, and it did. But it didn't get any of us as much as the freaking DreamWorks opening credits got me.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. This was beautiful. All right. Let me lay the scene for you. It's you and it's me. We're sitting down.
We're watching
we're
in the
couch.
lodge.
Yep. Where we're recording now.
Yeah.
You were sitting exactly where you are now.
I was.
I'm a little further away, just to paint a picture for the audience. And the DreamWorks logo, the DreamWorks movie, comes on, and it does the thing. It does the thing that it does.
The flicker.
It flickers. It glitches out a little bit. And Jody made this comment. She went, I don't know if you said something or if
I think I was just like, ooh.
Yeah. So genuinely. And here's the thing. I immediately paused the movie, not even 30 seconds in, and I said, there's a tweet that I saw that went viral. And it was one of those, like, not Onion, but like Hard Times, or one of those parody sites that the headline was just like, dream or movie studio logo glitches out, ensures audience that like shit's about to hit the fan or something.
It's true. That I always look for the S to sprout little ears.
Oh well, that's a staple,
every
an
single
American
time.
staple of cinema.
For little Shrek ears.
Little Shrek ears.
Okay, so the movie actually starts.
Okay, Twin Peaks watch.
No.
Twin Peaks watch.
Oh my god.
2021. Naomi Watts.
We're not there yet. This is the opening.
Forget it.
Take it back.
No,
Take
Twin
back
Peaks,
the watch.
I'll speak backwards like they do in Twin Peaks. Can't watch me.
Someone's gonna revert that.
Oh boy,
it's gonna
be
say
like
nothing.
It's gonna be like a hateful slur or something.
God, I hope
be
not.
like, whoops.
No,
Sorry.
so our opening scene
Right.
is very much like Scary Movie 3. So we're just continuing on our conversation that we had last episode about all the aliens and whatever. So that's why this ties in nicely.
Mm-hmm.
It's two girls, they're high school age, I would say.
Well, they're played by like 30-year-olds, but yeah.
One of them is played by the girl who is Tibby from Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yes, who I always think for some reason is in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but isn't. Every time I see her in anything, or like I hear her name, I'm like, oh, she's from Buffy. She's not from Buffy.
Mm-hmm. She straight up looks like somebody who I graduated with.
Really?
It's very, very strange.
Have you checked up on this person in a while?
Well, her name's Jessica.
Okay, well,
so I
this is
don't
Amber.
think it's her.
So.
Yeah.
The other one is somebody too. She's in stuff, but
yes, she is in some stuff. I can't think of any of it. But
she was in The Ring. Sorry.
oh my God. Okay, so there are these two girls, and they're sitting in Katie's room, and this is very nostalgic. Like, this is exactly what high school kind of was, when you just like had one friend over and whatever, and you're just gossiping and whatever. But then, of course, it turns into this like, hey, did you hear about this tape?
Yeah. Ooh, there's a tape.
And these fucking rumors, like, always went around.
How before the internet, before Twitter, before texting, I guess they kind of had texting.
Chain letters.
Oh.
That's how it got around. Well, it's just like, myths and urban legends and stuff. They just get twisted and just told over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like a game of telephone.
Right. So it's, hey, have you seen the tape? This scary tape that has all these scary images on it. And then when you're done watching it, a girl calls you and tells you you're going to die in 7 days.
This is seriously without this movie, we wouldn't have anything happen in high school, because everything that my existence in high school was like these like chain letters or these text chain. You know these text chains where it's like,
oh yeah,
send this to 10 people.
I'm already scared. Yeah, it's
they're
like,
so weirdly
and then
effective,
of course
even when
they're always gonna attach a very scary photo to it,
Yeah,
and they leave it like at the end, and then you're like,
right. And now that you've seen this image, you have to.
You're right. That was a MySpace staple.
If you were to cut all of those moments out of my life and my high school experience, I would be like 90, because nothing would have happened. I would have just flown through, because that was everything. It was everything.
You're right.
Anyway. So yeah, they.
So of course the girl's like, I've seen it. So like the girl who hadn't even watched it
had heard about it
and was telling the girl Katie, she's like, oh, I've seen it. I watched it with Josh a week ago.
You were with Josh?
Last weekend?
It's so hard not to quote Scary Movie 3, which isn't even the best Scary Movie, but it's.
I love all three, the first three.
Really, you draw the line at 4. Draw the line at 4.
I do.
Maybe we'll have to have a Scary Movie.
You know why?
episode.
It's because they take George out of it, and George is the best part of the third Scary Movie.
He's pretty funny, yeah.
So then, of course, they do a couple of fake outs, like, oh, you're gonna die. The phone starts ringing. Which now that I look back, I'm like, of course it's not gonna be anybody. She's already called and told you that you're gonna die in 7 days.
Right.
Why would she be calling to like check up on you?
Yeah, this is. Excuse me, my notes. I have many, and this is one of them. Yeah, it's not anything. It's just mom.
Right.
Becca goes off. She's like, well, I'm out of here. So Katie is like, well, I think I'm alone now. And
doesn't seem to be anyone around.
That's right. I would love to continue this, but I don't know any other lyrics. TV turns on.
Yeah.
And it's static. Now, geez, you can't have this today. This is one of the...
Oh, you can.
Well...
And it's still terrifying.
I'm just saying, this is one of the biggest issues with the new movie, The Ring. We'll talk about it. But just there's something about old, just analog media that's just more
See, you
creepy.
said that, and I don't.
You don't agree?
I don't agree.
That's my laptop. It's fine.
Oh,
It won't pick up. You don't agree?
I don't agree.
I just think TV static, like noise on a TV, is just inherently creepier than like signal not found on like a plasma screen.
I guess that's
like,
true.
Not scary.
That's true, but I don't know. We still get static sometimes, like when we're changing input on our TV.
Sure.
And it's like, of course, it'll be like on a mild setting on our regular TV, and then for some reason it switches to cable, and then it's a million times louder.
Yeah, I got to bump up
and
those decibels.
Nothing will shake you to your core versus just instant static TV.
Yep.
Like, just instantly.
Yeah. Well, this is what happens to dear old Katie.
Right.
She
turns the TV off.
Yeah. Still goes back on.
Right.
She's like, what?
And then she pulls the plug, like, fine, I'm going to be done with this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Turns back on.
Oh, boy.
Now, so that takes place in the downstairs area of the house.
Right.
Why didn't the girl come through that TV?
Because she unplugged it and...
Then went upstairs where the bathroom was leaking.
Yeah, with the bathroom.
TV! Or TV! Cindy!
The Cindy's leaking.
TV, the Cindy's leaking.
Yeah, I don't fully remember. She does go upstairs,
and then opens the door and dies.
Right, and this is where I wish that there was like something terrifying, because it just zooms in on the TV. You see the well.
There's a couple of scary images. They stuff them in really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But then, now that I'm thinking about it, when they flash back to show what her body looked like, she was like in a closet.
Well, this is a recurring theme
How
that
did
I
she?
kept.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, this is your theory of like.
I guess should we kind of spoil the end of this movie?
We have the title card, and we pick up with.
No, we won't. Okay.
No, we won't. We pick up with Rachel.
Yes.
Keeler, who is this reporter.
Yeah. Twin Peaks watch.
Now you can say your Twin Peaks watch.
2021. No one makes it scary. Naomi Watts is in season 3 of Twin Peaks. Continue.
Now, I don't think I've ever seen Naomi Watts in anything else.
Yeah.
But she looks so much like Nicole Kidman that I'm like...
Oh, she really does.
That I'm like, yeah. I've seen
she doesn't so
this.
much these days. Like, she looks a lot more distinct.
Because Nicole Kidman doesn't age.
No, she looks the same. But yeah, she in this movie and around this time, she really did. Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff that's like... There are just these actors that are big, and they're in a lot of things, but they just kind of escape just us. She was in Birdman, which we saw and liked. So
Beardman.
Beardman. But yeah, she is our main character. She is a reporter. Her son, Aiden,
is played by the same kid who was in the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Yes.
He plays, I think his name's Jedediah.
You know what? We did talk about that. I did not put together that movie comes out a year after this one, and he looks like a baby in that movie.
Well, I think it's mainly like the teeth that they give him. They're too big for his mouth,
and they just make him look messy.
Well, and like sickly too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I instantly see this kid, and I'm like, you motherfucker, get out of here!
I
like
got bad vibes from this kid.
Yeah, I already have.
I'm just gonna say it. This kid is a little freak. This kid's a freak. This actor is really good.
Oh, fantastic.
He kills it, especially in the second movie. He just does a really good job. This character is such a little freak. He's so weird. Every time he's on screen, I'm just like, God, what's going on with this kid? Because first of all, he only refers to his mother as Rachel. He acts more like a adult than his father does.
Than Rachel, too,
and Rachel, which I think they were kind of going for, but it's so creepy and not in the way that I think they were intending for this movie. So we got this kid to deal with. He's a little freak. But what's going on with Rachel? What's she doing?
Well, turns out Katie is her niece.
Yes.
And so Katie has died. Rachel's picking up her son from school, and the teacher's very concerned because he's been drawing these disturbing things. Mm-hmm. Turns out, she looks at the drawings. There's like 3 different ones. And it's like, yes, my niece just died like 3 days ago. Like, I'm sure this is his way of like
coping
and trying to work through it through artistic vision or whatever. And the teacher's like, 3 days ago, he drew these like last week.
Ooh.
Yeah, that nobody ever like really touches. She's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
she does this.
What do you mean? If that was my child, I'd be like, get out.
Yeah.
You're not coming home with me.
This is some more classic movie nonsense where a character will just like, inquisical look. Maybe I'll store that away for later. Maybe I won't. Either way, I'm not going to concern myself with this very strange thing that a person just said. She just does not do anything with this, but whatever.
Right.
It's a movie.
So then they go to the funeral for Katie. And this is the thing that I fucking hate about these movies is they will sneak scary faces in. Just
like nobody's
nobody's business. Like, I'm just sitting there trying to get some juxtaposition of this movie, and bam, this like scary face comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, you're very affected by this face.
This is the ultimate thing of that scares me, and I think I mentioned it in our very first episode about it.
Yeah,
because we asked the question like, what's your Pennywise or whatever, and mine is like deformed faces.
Yeah. Faces that are like jaws disjointed, just like distended.
Or like lips removed, eyes removed, like that type of thing really fucks me up.
And it's and this is interesting because this is one thing that's different from the Japanese one. They don't really do much for the dead bodies in the original. They're just kind of like, they might be a little paler than usual, but they just kind of have their mouth hanging open, and it's very much just like the actors. Okay, they just told them, hey, hang your jaw open, and that's it. But for this one,
they had to make whole different bodies.
Yeah, they put makeup on prosthetics, and actually, I think they even took it further in Scary Movie 3 because that scary face.
Oh, I can't even watch that one.
Well, that is very scary, like that face that they have in there, and it's similar, but it's different, and it's almost worse.
There are a few movies where there are just a couple of things I cannot watch. This is definitely one of them. I cannot see those faces.
Yeah.
I love Scary Movie 3. I cannot look at that face at the beginning.
You close your eyes and you're like, tell me when it's over.
Yeah. I can't watch, and we'll get into this later this season. I can't watch the body that drifts out of the boat in Jaws.
Yeah. This was no
like underwater. I can't watch that. Like, there are just like certain things to a movie that I just like cannot watch.
Scary. You won't watch the episode of Family Guy where they do.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I don't even like that where they parody The Ring. Yeah, right. I don't like that. Oh my god, how did you remember that?
I don't remember. I don't know.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'll just say it. This is what makes it scary.
Oh, great.
Not only that, but every scene change, they put unnecessary loud noises.
This movie is like the king of the cheap jump scares.
Yeah, this is where it started.
Yeah,
I'm convinced.
I can't remember.
They open an umbrella, and that's enough to shake me.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my god.
Everything has that violin sting of just like.
Yeah, or like a car goes by, and it's just like super loud.
It's like, are you trying to
every fucking
us?
movie, every single time.
Yeah. Well. So this movie is it does that a lot, but yeah. So they're at this funeral, and Rachel goes out for a smoke because she's like, it's 2002, I smoke, get over it. She meets some teens, and she's like, I'll be the cool adult, I'll smoke with these teens, and she overhears them talking about a tape. Right,
this supposed tape that like Katie had watched, and her boyfriend and another couple.
Yeah, so they do get into this. In the original Japanese, it almost felt like this was the first like time this had ever happened. And it kind of does feel like that in this one too.
You know what? And it might have been.
It
honestly.
really might have. Yeah, because they talk about how they were at this thing. They had taped a ball game, at this cabin that they had stayed at. And when they went to go watch it later, they went to watch it at the cabin.
Right.
And it wasn't the game that they had.
There was like a tape in the VCR player, and it started playing.
Yeah.
So they watched it.
And it was the tape. Ended up being the tape. And and they come to find out that this guy Josh had died at the exact
her boyfriend.
Right, Katie's boyfriend had died at the exact same minute that Katie did.
Right, 10 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like her friends are saying, like, yeah, he killed himself when he heard that Katie was dead. But yeah, it turns out that they died at the same time. The two other friends that were there supposedly died. And it says like a car accident, doesn't it?
Does it? I can't remember.
I feel like it does because she's like reading a newspaper article and it seems like it was a car accident. But like, how does that work? Because Samara only comes out of like TV screens.
Maybe they were driving by like an electronics store.
I doubt.
Ooh, if they were in Times Square, God, I want to see a Ring movie in Times Square.
I don't.
Oh, I want to see a giant Samara crawling around.
No.
Cool. No. But no. She finds, they also died at the exact same minute as well. So she's like, this is 4 people who watched this tape. Mm-hmm. They were at this cabin. I think I ought to get me to that cabin. Instead of the normal person's reaction of,
well, her sister's like begging her to figure out what happened.
Yeah, because it was so like, there's no explanation. They say like there's nothing
abnormal
there's no cause
about
of
her
death.
anatomy. Yeah.
Right. Like nothing killed her. So that's spooky. So yeah, she's driven. She's driven. She's a reporter. She got to get the scoop. Is she a reporter or is she like a journalist? What's her deal?
I think she's a news reporter.
Okay.
She works at
She definitely works in the media because she has access to like these tape recording stuff, which is important.
So she goes back to her apartment, her son's there and whatever, and there's this just really cool scene. She's like goes out onto her balcony and kind of is just looking around, and it's a super cute nod to the movie Rear Window.
Yeah.
She's like looking around at all her neighbors, and there's this one guy who's in like this full leg cast.
Yeah.
Just sitting around. This is and I guess what it's trying to say is that like everybody has a TV because each one of these rooms has like a TV that someone's either watching or it's just on and they're walking around it or whatever.
Yeah, it was funny because
I was like, what is this Rear Window? And then that guy shows up. I'm like, it is him. It was super cute.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah.
So she goes up to this cabin. Mm-hmm. She finds the tape.
Yeah.
She watches it.
Yeah. So there's a thing, and they do get into this. I think they get more into it in the Japanese one. In the later movies where they say they're trying to find the tape, they're like, how will we know which tape it is? And they'll say, you'll know when you see it. You'll just know that
it's like an unmarked tape,
right? But it almost seems to be like calling out to people, like
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. They never get into that in these movies,
right?
Ever,
right? So there's almost this like because the tape is obviously supernatural, but like the physical thing of it, they kind of hint at that because she sees this tape and it's unmarked and it's kind of nondescript, but she's like, that tape. Obviously, she knows that people have been watching a tape, so she's interested. But she takes it, she steals it.
Well, she just takes it to the cabin.
Yeah,
watches it. Mm-hmm. Phone immediately rings.
Oh, we're not going to talk about the tape at all?
Oh, I mean, it's got some scary shit on it. What do you want me to say?
I don't know.
Everyone knows.
Let's get into it a little bit.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of unsettling imagery. I think every shot from the Japanese movie is there with a bunch more.
Yeah.
There's one shot that I think it's good that they didn't have it in because it's ridiculous. Of like just maybe they have it, but it's just some dude pointing and he's got like a pair of pants over his head. It looks like you just can't.
What?
You can't see his head. It's just like this. It might be a towel, but it looks like a pair of pants that's just draped over. He's just pointing.
I don't remember that.
I'm glad they left that one out. But they do put one in that I hate.
Yeah.
It's the nail and the nail.
Yeah, there's a screw and somebody's putting their finger on it and it like goes up through it. See, that's the one that gets you. The one that gets me the most is the hair coming out of the mouth.
Oh, that's pretty sick too, yeah. But yeah, it's just a bunch of unsettling images. It kind of just like, this is very edgelord. You'd see this on YouTube now.
Yeah,
of people just putting together.
Well, like hell, we were just saying, we're shout out to Markiplier. Not like he needs any more fucking followers, but he posted this video a month ago ish. It was like scariest video on YouTube.
He was watching,
and we were normal Jody, who isn't around Alex, would be like, I'm never watching that,
right?
But then you get around, and I'm like, let's fucking watch it,
right?
And it was pretty scary.
It was unsettling.
I'm always just scared something will jump out.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't that type of thing, but like that's the type of video that would be cursed,
right? For sure. Just something.
So go and look it up.
Yeah. But yeah, something that would just be creepy in a kind of disturbing way. This is just like a bunch of images that are meant to shock you and creep you out. Which is effective, especially, and this is what I'm saying about like analog media. You can't pop in a DVD that's in 720p and be like, ooh, I'm spooked. No, it's got to be rough. It's got to look dirty. It's got to look grimy. And this is something that the Japanese movie does a little better even because it's almost hard to see what's going on in that movie. It's like very static, very grainy. You have to kind of like struggle to make out the images. And this one, it's a lot cleaner, maybe due to the higher budget. Not bad, but just like, I think a little less creepy in that regard, just because it doesn't feel as gross. And I feel like that grossness is part of what makes it scary.
Right.
Kind of sprinkling those in a little bit.
So now she's spooked because someone's called and said, I think they just say 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days.
Yeah. Ugh. I'm seriously just still so scared of this movie, every kind of like aspect, because I remember like even riding the bus and like talking about it, and people would be like, "Oh yeah, my friend," blah blah, and people inflate stories
kids.
or whatever, and you're just like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, you don't be messing with stuff you don't know.
So Rachel calls her baby daddy.
Yeah, I don't know that they were ever married.
No, I don't think they were ever married.
This guy, I hate this guy.
His name's Noah, which we established earlier.
Noah stands for no, I won't be taking no showers, because this guy has never showered a day in his life. His hair is so greasy and gangly. I hate this guy.
He's just like looking at the sun and then looking at this guy. You're just like, how?
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, he's like our
he's a photographer, like media guru type of guy,
and he lives in like this giant
warehouse.
I assume he lives in this place.
Yeah, it's a studio.
Yeah, it's a studio, and it's massive. But yeah, he comes over and
his
Rachel's
girlfriend assistant also comes in later. I'm gonna jump ahead, and it's Abby from NCIS.
NCIS watch.
Yeah,
2021.
No, we're not gonna start that. Hopefully,
but yeah, you jumped on that immediately.
I was serious. I was like, oh, why?
We're doing this, huh?
Yeah.
Now it's funny.
She's really of no importance to this movie.
Well, if they had continued with the Japanese one, she would be the star of the second movie.
True.
Because the Japanese movie is all about this character.
Right. So Rachel says to Noah, she's just like, I don't think you should watch this video. 2 seconds later, they're watching the video.
Right. Well, she steps out and she's like, I'm not doing this. And then he sees it. I was so convinced, because this happens in the Japanese one too. I was so convinced that he didn't watch it. He was like, it was going to be a twist in the end. Like, oh, I didn't actually see it. I didn't, like, I couldn't.
Yeah,
I was too scary.
That would have been cool.
But no, he watches it and he's like, well, and he's like me in that he's just like, all right, cool.
I know. Meanwhile, Rachel is like me, and I'm like, what the fuck? What do you mean you're not scared? I'm terrified.
Right. You don't think you're going to die? It's like, why would I think that? It's just a videotape.
The phone rings. They don't answer it.
Yeah.
This is a little stupid, too. They don't answer it. And then Samara supposedly like leaves a message and like she deletes it without listening to it. It's like, oh, well,
and
that's great.
You can so easily see people watch this, like before Scary Movie, see people watch this movie and be like, I know exactly what I'm going to do for Scary Movie, because it's like so easy to just be like, all right, so Samara, this demon who's like a creature who can kill you, is going to get a voicemail. All right, what you going to do? Okay, she'd be like, all right, cool, call me back. Or maybe I could just give you the message now. No, you'll have to call me. What's a good number to reach me at? I don't really have a cell phone. How am I having this conversation right now?
Right.
That's why I think movies aren't scary to me, because I think about stuff like that where I'm like, this is so dumb.
Very true. Very true.
And especially with like we talked about the body in the closet. I'm like, Samara.
Yeah, now we can talk about that.
Yeah, Samara put her there.
You're convinced this little demon, wet child.
Yes, this wet little girl.
Like lugs these bodies around. I almost think it's like a force that like drifts through them and pushes them.
Could be.
But your theory's way funnier, because later on Noah dies.
Every single we're jumping right to the end.
Like he's like on the floor when he dies, because he trips over like a glass table or whatever.
Right.
So he's on the floor when he dies, but when Rachel comes to see him, he's in a chair.
He's in a chair facing away so they can have that reveal. And it's like every every single time somebody dies like that, they're in a chair facing the other way. They have to be swiveled around. It even happens in the remake too.
Yeah.
Or not the remake. It's the
2017 one.
So it's you have to imagine that she's doing this. She's putting people in chairs. This will be a really funny bit.
They'll be like,
This'll
somebody's
be
gonna
so
find
good.
it. Sure.
Okay, but
So
anyway, Noah's alive.
She makes a copy of it and is like, Noah, go home and study this.
Right.
And so she keeps on. She's finding some stuff, you know. Then there's this scene where she literally is on the phone with her sister, and then she just starts like hacking
Oh yeah.
up. And this is what most women, I think, fear most of just this movie in general.
hairball?
Yes. Because Alex, it fucking happens.
Oh, well,
like
yeah.
women with long hair, like
guess that's true.
there are true. Like this could happen, but also just like imagine.
Yeah.
I'm like starting to gag, like not being your own hair
Oh, yeah, that's disgusting.
that she's pulling out of her own throat. I'm trying really hard not to.
Well,
Gag.
please don't. Yeah, it's disgusting. At the
that's
end of it
is a like a hospital monitor.
yeah, which
tab.
I don't. Oh, because
Because
she was being monitored, right? Okay.
Right. So they figure out all this stuff. Turns out it's this girl
Named Samara.
named Samara who was adopted by the Morgans, and her mother, you know, she is very disturbed by the child, but has always wanted her. So, you know, she's trying to make her better, but she's like, Samara's driving the horses crazy with like her energy and driving her mother crazy and all this stuff.
Yeah, she just emits bad vibes. She's just like this kind of stain that just kind of spreads across like life. And, you know, they talk about later the people just around when like, as soon as Samara was gone, like everybody started breathing easier. It was like it just life got so much better when she was gone. So you really get the idea that she was just this rotten, just creature almost.
Right. So the more Rachel and Noah kind of like gather all this information, turns out that the mother was driven so crazy that she killed or like, you know, went to suffocate Samara while she was standing by a well and dumped her body down it.
Yeah.
Now Samara survived for 7 days because you can survive, you know, just on water for like 7 days, I guess.
So they say.
So they say. And then she died.
Yeah. This is awful.
This was one of those parts that I looked at you because I knew this wouldn't be in the Japanese one. And you were like, you like audibly gasped when she went to like suffocate her.
Because it was a twist because in the original, it was her father that did it. And he did it much more brutal, but different kind of way, just like clubbed her and she just kind of fell in. And it was like much easier to be like, oh yeah, well obviously she survived getting hit on the head. People do that all the time. Fell in the well. And then yeah, but this I was not expecting, because like her mom was there. It's like, oh, her mom loved her. This will be fine. She won't be trying to kill her.
Right.
She did though. So that was a shock. Yeah.
And then one of the scenes in the film, the movie, what do you call it? The videotape. Her mother jumps off a cliff and kills herself.
Yep.
Well, Rachel's gone to the house and the father's now there. There's that whole scene.
This guy who was he's Stryker, General Stryker or
From
Colonel Stryker.
X2?
X2, which had come out like 2 years, the same year. No, the next year. Again, 1 year later.
I didn't believe that. I was like, what?
Yeah. Which I don't remember that movie that well, but I feel like he wasn't.
I only remember the
man.
new Stryker from
the young Stryker.
Yeah.
But so lots of little connections in these movies.
Yep. So he, you know, is telling Rachel like, why are you bothering digging up all this bullshit and blah 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 blah. He's walking
He
upstairs.
says, "Let the past die.
Yeah,
kill it if you have to."
I fucking wish. He's, you know, overflowing his bathtub. He gets into it. He grabs like he hooks up all this electrical stuff.
Yeah.
Puts a horse bit in his mouth. Like
That's what that was?
Yeah. And then drops everything and electrocutes himself. And Rachel just is like standing there
Right.
while this whole thing's happening. There's also this scene, I think a little bit before that, before she gets to like their house or whatever, that she's on this ferry.
Oh yes, this was the only thing that I knew about this movie.
And I hadn't forgot about it, but like that was never something that ever bothered me when I watched it.
Yeah.
There were just so many other things that I was thinking about.
So here's what happens. She's on this ferry. There's a horse in
horse trailer.
A horse trailer. That she goes up and she's like, "Oh, hi,
Yeah,
horse."
first of all, she goes up. This horse immediately is like, "Fuck you, lady."
Yeah, this horse is not
And
having
instead
any
of
of it.
just walking away
This horse
and being
says
like,
nay.
yeah. Instead of Rachel just like walking away, she like is antagonizing this horse. Like,
Yeah, she's like, "Hey, it'll be okay.
It'll be all right." Goes crazy, busts out of the trailer,
Yeah.
running all around the ferry, eventually jumps over the side of the boat.
Yeah, it falls off the side of the boat. Cut to the Groundhog Day movie where that one dude is like, "Oh, he's probably okay." Then you see the horse has gotten struck by the propeller and all this blood shoots out. It goes back to Groundhog Day and he says, "Well, maybe not now." So that's what happened. I thought it was weird that they
put that footage in
cut
there.
those
I don't
in.
know how they got
the
a
rights
hold
to
of that,
it.
but
Well,
good
cool.
for them.
Yeah. So this is, I think, just meant to be kind of a like things are weird. Well, because like the horses
they're
were
all
going.
kind of images from the tape.
Yeah.
There's
But
dead horses on the beach. There's like all these ladders all over the place.
yeah, because there was a ladder. Seeing this scene out of context, 'cause I just saw the scene on YouTube years ago, just because it's like, hey, the horse
that'd be
scene.
very confusing.
Yeah, well, it was, and then even putting it back in context of this movie,
it
it's
still
just
is
like,
very out of place.
This doesn't need to be here. This is not in the
I
Japanese.
do kind of like remember watching it being like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Oh, yeah, it is
but
shocking.
I still was like, God, that face was so scary at the beginning of this movie. I don't know how I'm gonna sleep tonight.
Right. And poor horse.
So, amongst all this,
Yeah.
Aiden, the son,
This little freak.
watched the tape as well.
Yeah, she found him watching it. In the Japanese.
So now it's like a real, like, we got to figure this out.
Yeah. In the Japanese one, she asked him, like, why did you watch that? And he said, Katie, well, her name's not Katie, but the Katie character told me to. So there was almost like this otherworldly thing leading him to do it. In this one,
he does go on and say like she told me to,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he's means like Samara told me to, because he
So-
has like this empathic
Yeah, well,
like,
so and
energy with her.
Right, and here's the other thing about the Japanese one is a huge difference is that almost every character has some kind of ability because Samara Sadako, his mother was kind of a precognition. She could see the future, and so she was like kind of branded as a witch that way back in the day. And at the same time, the Noah character in that movie also has like this ability that it's kind of like a reveal later in the movie where because he keeps talking about how he's like not normal. He's like, I'm different, and we find out that he can sense things from people when he like touches them. He can like kind of get images out of their
Like
mind and
Matthew
stuff.
Lillard.
Like Matthew
from 13 Ghosts.
Exactly like Matthew Lillard. And I believe the kid
Matthew
also
Lillard watch.
Matthew Lillard watch.
I watch him all the time,
Yeah,
so
for
it doesn't
sure.
matter.
Mhm.
So it goes on. They've found the well.
Yep, it's under the cabin, by
yes,
the cabin.
It's under the cabin.
Near the cabin.
Rachel falls down it. This is like when she's supposed to be dying, like, and she finds Samara's body. She didn't die. They then like bring her remains up and give them to the town to be properly buried.
Yep. They're like, look what we found.
And like, Rachel didn't die, so it's like, okay, curse is broken.
yeah.
Cool.
Wait, why are there still like 10 minutes left?
Like a half an hour left in
half
this
an hour,
movie.
yeah.
It's annoying. These movies are too long.
This movie is
And they're bullshit.
This movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
It did not have to
It's
be.
way longer than it needs to be.
It does not have to be. So then, like, the next day comes, and
This is the day a week before that Noah had watched the tape.
right. So now the TVs are turning on at Noah's house,
And he's like,
and
what?
meanwhile Rachel's at home, and Aiden's like, "What did you do to Samara?"
Yeah, because they're like, don't worry, baby, we fixed it. Everything's gonna be fine. And,
And
the kid's
he's
like,
like,
wait, Rachel,
He's like, "Yeah, Rachel. What do you mean? Like
you weren't supposed to do that.
she will never stop."
His nose starts bleeding, that's a creepy.
Yeah, that's a thing in this movie is like kind of right either before you die or like when you find something out, like your nose starts bleeding.
Yeah, it just kind of but that's it. We find out that this TV comes on. It's the image of the well, and you see every time you see the videotape, like the classic videotape, the very last shot is this well, and then you can see like hair and hands start to come out of it, and then it immediately cuts to static. And then in this, you see that shot, you see the hair, you see the hands, you see the body of Samara.
and she's
creeping
coming
up,
for you.
crawling towards the camera.
And this is a pretty intense scene.
I
remember this being like this. They're not going to actually show us it, right?
Right. And this is the moment that like I've heard people describe seeing this movie in theaters for the first time.
Oh yeah,
and I'm so jealous because I
didn't see it in theaters, but like watching it for the first time and never having any reference to it,
not knowing,
was like, what do you mean she can just like come out of the TV?
She crawls up to the TV screen, crawls out of it.
She's just this waterlogged monster.
She's wet.
Like this is, and she like looks up. She's an old man.
Well,
like her face is like old man.
Yeah,
wrinkled.
she has a very weird face. Yep.
And she kills Noah.
Yep. She just kind of looks at him. This is her ability. This is the thing from the Japanese that they explain in that, not really in this. She can just will people to die. That's her thing, and that's why she was ostracized as in real life. Well, in the real life of the movie. Because she can just do this. And so the videotape is kind of like an extension of that. In this, it's just kind of like, she's like a ghost. She kills you, whatever.
Right. So Rachel goes and finds the body. She's still freaking out.
Yeah, well, the body's on a chair facing away. And
right. And
Samara
she
set it up.
Reveals it. But she realizes, she's like, oh, I made a copy. So that's got to be what saved me.
Yeah. I made a copy and showed it to somebody.
So she makes Aiden make a copy of it. And presumably they show it to somebody. That's the end of the movie.
I have so many questions. This bothered me. I kept bringing this up throughout the rest of our watching experience because I was like, how stupid is this? So who decides this? Who decides this? And where does Samara? Is she in charge? Who's in charge here? Let me speak to your manager.
Okay, Karen.
Like, so does Samara care that somebody... Kamara, that's funny.
Thank you.
But does Samara care? Jesus.
No, Samara doesn't care. Karen.
That's
Comerica Park.
Please. Let me finish. Does she care that somebody makes a copy and shows it to someone else?
I think she wants that because that's like a virus.
What if you just show it to someone else?
You're still going to die.
Why?
You're saying like what's the, because then you have two tapes instead of just one.
But let's say you don't have two tapes. Let's say you have one.
Well, then it's just one tape going around all the time.
Sure.
When you could have multiple tapes killing many people at the same time.
But you don't. You have one tape because if you make a copy, you're free. So it's only that new copy.
No.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes,
no, it's not.
Yes, you are. You have to be because that's her. That's Rachel. She's fine.
No, what I'm saying is that, like, Samara's like, yeah, make another copy. Do my dirty work. And I now see what you're saying. Okay, so, like, if nobody dies...
Oh, my God.
So if nobody will die because... So she doesn't want them to make a copy.
Right.
I don't know. These are just...
Thank you so much for this gift.
That doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't. So if it were simply making a copy of the tape, I'd be fine with it. If it were simply showing it to somebody else so that it spreads, I would be fine with it. The fact that it's like weirdly both and it frees you, like it's just so messy to me. It's sloppy. And this is exactly in the Japanese too, so I'm not saying this movie specifically is at fault here, but I'm just very confused by it.
Right.
I will say, in neither of the two sequels to the Japanese one does this work, the Aiden copy, because in the first sequel, it's revealed that he almost immediately died as soon as that movie ended, and the Rachel character was in the car with him when it happened, and so she crashed and died. So it kills off both of those characters. In the other sequel to it, Aiden is still cursed, and they're still trying to lift the curse from him. So making the copy in both those movies did not work, which I find interesting, because in the American one, it did. Right.
Which moves us to The Ring 2.
Ring 2. This
came out in 2005.
Yep. This really follows the Star Wars prequels model. 2002, there was a movie. 2005, another movie. Makes you think.
Yeah, does make you think. Makes me think why this bastard at the beginning of this movie waited till the last goddamn minute to show somebody this videotape.
Oh my God. Seriously. So It starts off with, and we know this guy. We know this guy twice.
We do.
We've talked about him.
Yes.
Final Destination, not 1, not 2, not 4, but 3. Yeah. He was just one of the guys. And then he was also in Halloween Resurrection.
As the catfish kid.
Or as I call him, the Pulp Fiction kid.
Yeah. The one who's like cybering
He's a
the
hacker.
college girl.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's there. And so is Sharon Carter from the Marvel movies.
Yes.
10 years before she was in the Marvel movies.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So he's like, hey, I want to show you this video. I'm just gonna
You should watch it. It's really scary.
Yeah, and then he leaves the room. First of all, I'm not watching that alone.
In what world does anyone say, here's a really scary thing,
I'm gonna
bye?
I'm gonna leave you.
But
now this girl, she's got it together though.
Yeah, she's smart.
She pulled a Jody for sure.
This would be you. This would be you.
So he's like counting down the minutes. He's like, you just got to watch that goddamn video and I'll be set free and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because he knows the rules that you just have to make a copy of it and show somebody else, but he waited till the last goddamn minute to do it.
Remember in The Purge when they were caught outside and we were like, why?
Stupid people.
Why are people so bad at
This
time
is Darwinism.
management? It is.
At its finest.
At the end of this series of movies, only people who are good at managing their time will be alive.
Yes.
Great.
Oh, I for one would be so for that because I cannot stand when someone is late.
Yeah. I don't
Consistently.
Don't appreciate those daggers you're throwing my way with your eyes.
Stop being late. Anyway, this girl pulls a Jody because he comes back in and he's like, did you watch it? And she's like, it played, but I didn't watch it. Her hands were like over her eyes.
Literally covering her eyes.
That is how I watched all 3 of these movies, was like through my hands.
Yeah. And I said, well, because you didn't watch it, things are about to get a lot scarier for you because he gets got by Samara.
Yes.
This movie, and I understand why, doesn't do anything new with like the tape or like the setup. It's just like, yeah, the tape is exactly the same.
This is like, it's just like, okay, you copied it.
Yep.
Now what happens?
Right.
It just keeps going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we won't get like beat by
because there's
beat.
really nothing in this movie. Rachel and Aiden have moved to a new town. They've hopefully moved away from.
I want to talk about this.
We were going to talk about every beat in this movie.
Well, we have to talk about this because first of all, Twin Peaks watch, Naomi Watts. Season 3. But no, the first movie takes place in Seattle, which is in Washington, in my opinion. And in this movie, they've moved away. They're in a new town. They're in Oregon, which is right next door to Washington. Not only that, I can't remember. It's Astoria, which we looked up. It's right on the border.
Right. It's very close to where they were.
If we compare,
but they moved to get away and start fresh.
They moved to get away. They didn't move very far. We compared it to if we were to leave Michigan because something bad happened, where we need a fresh start to get away, and we go to Toledo.
Right.
It's just
where my best friend lives.
Right. Well, maybe we should do that then.
No, it's Ohio.
Okay,
it's not worth it.
But it's you really did the bare minimum there.
Right.
But yeah, they've moved away. But things are starting to pick back. Much like Scream 2, things are starting to pick back up again.
Right. Rachel kind of finds out that this other kid has died because of this videotape.
Mm-hmm.
And now Samara is targeting kind of her, which then gets her to Aiden.
Yeah.
Who is so susceptible and open to her aura or whatever.
She's trying to be reborn, this is just like Racine, aka Spiral. Exactly like it.
Right. So she's trying to infiltrate him. She's lowering his body temperature, almost killing him through hypothermia. Rachel fucking cons one of her another coworker.
Another's one of these dirty guys.
Yeah, that just but I can't believe how much he actually does for her.
Yeah, he's
yeah, just come over to my house with your kid who's dying and you might be killing him. I don't know.
He's probably known her for 3 weeks.
Maybe, if that, yeah.
And he's just just all this stuff.
Come over, come live at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever. So she's he's very sick. He's well, then let's take it to the hospital. No, we can't take him to the hospital.
No, can't do that. We got to put him in the bathtub. This movie rips off Stranger Things something fierce.
Yeah, they put him in the bathtub. They start the warm water, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave now
and get my keys for something."
I'll leave you.
I'm yeah, just leave your kid.
Your naked little boy.
He wasn't naked, but
in this bathtub with this stranger.
Just leave him in the bathtub.
Yeah,
and just leave him with a stranger who will do God knows what to him.
Right. You don't know this man. He's fine though. Not Aiden. Because she ends up getting back. I want to talk about this because this is a really cool scene when they burst the door open because it's locked, and all the water is like flowing up to the ceiling. This was a really cool shot. I like this a lot.
Right, and it turns out like Samara's kind of in the bathtub, and so Rachel's like trying to drown her, but when the guy runs in, it looks like she's drowning Aiden, and then like just all this chaos happens, and finally he kind of wakes up and is like, Rachel, stop killing me,
please, Jesus.
And so then the guy's like, no, we're going to the hospital right now. Aiden's induced into like a coma to raise his body temperature back.
Well, right, there was this there's a whole plot running through this movie that when they're asleep, Samara can't control you. Right, can't hear you, can't be present or whatever. And so they're trying to like stay awake, but they put him in a coma, which is a bad idea. Especially when he wakes up.
He is Samara is him.
Because he keeps using the words "mommy," which
he has never used before. He's
a little freak.
I don't like you saying that. But yeah, so he's like, we as an audience member know like that's Samara, right? Because he's saying "mommy," and Rachel immediately notices it too. She's like, "You are not my son," right? But she like, she can like touch Aiden, and it almost like throws them into like this dream sequence together to where he can be like, this is what you have to do to overthrow her. Yeah. Kind of. Right. And it's like Samara wants to feel love. She wants to feel motherly love that she never got to feel. So what you have to do to break the curse is to try to kill me, because if she thinks she's not safe, if she thinks that you are going to kill us, she'll leave. Right. Which I thought this was another trick. I thought this was a twist where she was going to end up killing Aiden and be maybe committed or something, or arrested, because she thought she was killing Samara, but right. Through all this, she has to go and gather all this information. She does meet the birth mother of Samara, who is Evelyn, who was at this nunnery when she was there, and she is played by Sissy Spacek. Sissy Spacek of Carrie fame. I was going to say of Carrie White Incorporated. Carrie White Incorporated. So it turns out that Evelyn, Samara's mother, showed up at this nunnery and was having this child, and they don't know who the father is, and had the child, and she just kind of kept trying to kill her, right, to save her. Like it just didn't make sense and whatever, and eventually it's like, oh well, of course, because she's evil, right? She's pure evil. She kept trying to drown her, which drowning is like a recurring theme, which right. She doesn't like water. Like yeah, she doesn't like water. Samara doesn't like water. Right. Meanwhile, like Aiden, Samara body kills she kills Wilma fucking Flintstone. What? She kills Elizabeth Perkins, the psych nurse. Yes. Who also plays Wilma in the Flintstone live action movie, which I love. I forgot about this. I forgot I actually took a lot of notes on this movie because I wasn't as familiar with it. She kills her like with a syringe of air, which I like a lot of deaths happen like that in horror movies. I don't know if that would actually. Yes, you cannot get air in your blood. It's why they'll always like tap the needel to kind of like get a lot of those. It's not so much like in your blood, but it going up to your brain. Right. Is like what kills you, I guess. When is the scene with the CGI deer? Oh, that was a while ago. Okay, we got to talk about that. That was crazy too. So all animals around Samara. As Aiden is being like enveloped by Samara's spirit, all the animals are like, fuck you. Right, they do not like Samara, which, fair. Yep. Fair. But yeah, so they're driving down the road. They're in this, it's like this just forest essentially, which, Oregon, sure. And they almost hit a deer, and they're like, whoa, slam on the brakes. They don't hit it. They're like, all right, great. But wait, we shouldn't stay. Aiden says like, "Don't stop, like, don't stop, keep going," and she fucking doesn't. She does nothing. She's like, let's look around some more. And they get hit by it. One runs into the other side. Right, and so they're like, I guess we'll go. She casually flips on the car,
drives away. But all these deer are like kind of following them, swarming them. And this would be such a creepy scene.
If these deer didn't look
It
terrible.
looks so fake. So fake.
They were trying to capture that horse
I guess,
scene in this one,
from
and
the
it
first
just
one.
doesn't work.
No. But this was very disappointing to me because this has such the propensity to be a
Right. We
scary
get like
movie.
these just huge, long, drawn out things. The guy who's been helping them dies.
Mm-hmm.
She puts him in a car.
Yeah, he's clearly in the house. Because he's trying to get a picture of Aiden, because he's like, anyone who's cursed, we never talked about this, but they have the distorted faces. This is
Right.
from the first movie. So he's trying to get a picture of him, because he's like, if he has the distorted face, he's still cursed. And Aiden's like, do not get a picture of me. Like, I'll tell you
Aiden
why.
Samara. Yeah.
Right, Aiden Samara. It's like,
I'll
"Do
tell you,
not-"
but you have to promise not to take a picture
So he
of
says,
me.
sure. So he turns on the time delay, sets the camera down. It's clearly flashing. Aiden looks right at it. This guy deserves to die. He's so stupid.
Yeah, but he gets put in the car.
And
which I
yeah,
just
and
think
then
is so
later
funny.
on he's in the car. So like, all right, he literally and he's not a ghost at this point. He's Aiden. So this little boy had to carry this adult man into the car, put him in there, slam
Buckle
the
him
door
up.
shut. Movies do not take advantage of how stupid
Right.
they can be sometimes.
Right. In the end, she like drowns Aiden again. That scares Samara away, and Aiden comes back.
Right. There is another well scene. I believe this is. I don't think it's real. I think it's like in her head or whatever. But
She like goes into the TV and is like,
Yeah.
"You want a mommy? I'll come be your mommy." And
Right.
and then she just has to like crawl out of the well
and
because like Samara's trapped there or whatever.
yeah, Samara is in the well, crawling up it, looking way more like The Grudge than like a
Yeah.
Samara, because like the way she's moving is, and this is the creepiest she's ever been. I'll say, in my opinion, is her like throwing her legs above her to crawl up this well really fast. Also, straight out of Ring 2. I thought this was original when I saw it because I was like, oh, cool, that's cool. No, it happens in the original.
Damn,
Well,
we can't think of anything cool, original, can we?
right. But yeah, so they win.
Yep.
Great. Story's over. No more Samara. Nothing ever will happen again, right?
Nope.
2017
Rings.
Rings. There was also
5 golden rings.
now that's funny.
Thank you.
They had a short film called Rings, which makes it very hard to search for stuff sometimes when they do this, because whenever you search for anything, it always comes up with what you don't want.
Of course.
Yeah, so there's a short film called Rings. Don't care about it. This movie, Rings, it's new, it's fresh.
I liked this one.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
This movie
I thought.
This movie was Countdown. Do you remember Countdown? It was that
Final
movie where
Countdown?
the app,
Oh.
the app that like it tells you when you're gonna die.
Yeah.
These are the exact same movie.
I also think it's a little bit Don't Breathe.
It's a little Don't Breathe later in
It's
the
a
end.
little bit of that.
Little bit-
Let's
it's a
get into
sprinkle
it.
in the
The
tidbits.
opening scene takes place on an airplane.
Well, before we even get into that, although
yeah,
that
tell
is
me.
so the Paramount logo, no longer DreamWorks.
Yeah.
And
yeah. What's
we-
it do? And I called it.
We were
But
hoping for this. We were
I said, "Ooh, look, it's gonna turn into a ring when the stars like go above the
Yep.
lady's head."
Yep, and it did.
And
It
it
flickered.
instantly did. I was like, "Told you."
Yeah, this was your redemption for
Yes.
being got by the DreamWorks. And then my next note in here is David Copperfield ass fly. And I would love to know what that's in reference to. That's probably
I think
ahead of where we are.
Probably because this movie opens on an airplane.
Yes, it does.
And this guy's kind of like freaking out, and the because they're having some turbulence, and the
Right.
lady next to him is like, if you talk about it, maybe you won't be so scared. And he's like, actually, I just saw this videotape that said I was going to die in 7 days, and that was 7 days ago.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay,
Okay, great. So
which
you're
is
on-
kind of cool.
This movie
Like 'cause
attempts to
attempts to answer all the questions that people built up of like, well, what if you?
right. What if there's no
What if
TV?
you do
Well,
this?
there's
Yeah.
always a TV. They're on a goddamn airplane. The pilot.
The pilot screens,
Yeah.
turn into Samara, and
That's cool.
and kills you.
There's this woman who they do this thing. There's this
Oh,
woman
yeah.
who knows, and it's like, did you make a copy? There's no reason for this other than to tell the audience, like,
Hey, you
know the
still have to
ring.
make a copy.
because like she's not a character. She's
No.
never referenced. Neither
Well,
is
she
he.
dies.
Right. Everybody dies. It's a plane crash.
which I think is dirty.
Yeah.
You're supposed to kill that one person. That one person watched your TV.
Yeah.
Samara.
Like,
Don't be taking down a whole plane.
Right. Unless she specifically engineered it so everyone who watched the tape was on that plane. Makes you think.
Wasn't true.
Really Final Destination. No, not true.
Did not happen.
So yeah.
That's that. That's just like a fun opening.
Right. It is fun, for sure.
So then we go to this garage sale where there's, for sale? A VHS player.
Yeah.
And what VHS is next to it?
Well, Jurassic
Park. Because I have this theory that at every goddamn garage sale I go to, if there's VHSs, Jurassic Park is in that list. I'm gonna start taking pictures and posting them on my Twitter.
I want you to make a tally of every garage sale that doesn't have this and see if you make one tally. You probably won't.
I probably won't.
Wow.
And listeners, what makes it scariers out there?
Is that what we're calling?
That's what we're gonna call them.
Great.
What we could call them, waters or whatever.
I like waters.
Okay, waters.
That sounds like a slur. I don't. Maybe we shouldn't.
Every time you go to a garage sale and you see a VHS copy of Jurassic Park, you best be tweeting me.
Tweeting me. And what's your tweet?
My personal tweet is at Clever Girl, the letter F and the letter X.
Great.
Also, I want to see it on the show. At Makes It Scary.
Do it. So yeah. Well, we meet our main character.
John Galecki.
Nope.
Johnny Galecki.
Not our main character.
Well, we meet him first.
Oh, sure. Okay. You like this guy.
I like him. He was in Roseanne. He was in I Know What You Did Last Summer. Played Max.
Mm-hmm.
Had a bunch
what
of
else was
crap.
he in, Jody? What else was he in?
He was in Big Bang Theory.
Oh, he was in Big Bang. Oh,
he was also in The Connors.
Okay, great. Well, he was in the Big Bang Theory, and I think there are some stains that you never rinse off.
You're so mean.
Well, listen, they're meaner.
Whatever. Anyway, John Galecki plays this college professor who is the one that bought this VHS player and finds the videotape.
Yeah. There's like a weird thing with him, but it just all boils down to.
It's very weird because he's at this sale and like he's talking to this girl and she's like, why would anyone buy that piece of trash electronic, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I consider it an antique. And that ends up being Sky. And then they're like together.
Right.
So I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. How old is she? How old is he?
Right. She's like a student and he's like a professor. It's very, very strange. They're not our main characters, though. We meet. Good. Yes, it's Julia. Oh. And Holt.
Yes, Holt. Holt! Okay, we both went in different directions. Both funny. Yeah, so we meet her, and she apparently does nothing because she's able to drop everything at a hat to go on this movie's adventure. But he is a college student who is going off to college, and they're going to have a classic LTR. And they're bummed about it. So it's kind of their thing. He goes off to college.
Yeah, so one night they Skype all the time, which first of all, Skype is scary.
Boy, remember Skype? Yeah, this movie and Unfriended really did a number on Skype.
Right. So she gets this like random Skype one night and it's this girl, Sky, who we know to be like Gabe or Johnny Galecki's girlfriend or whatever. And she's just like, has he made a copy of the tape? Like, or has he shown to, like, nothing will stop her.
Right.
She's coming. And then Julia's like, what the fuck?
That's weird.
She can't get a hold of Gabe on the phone or anything like that.
Yeah, this is the scene that made me lose all faith in this movie because her Julia's first question isn't, who are you? Right. What's going on? She's just like, she says something weird, like, just like, what are you talking about? And she does it in such like a just non-way. It's just, I immediately like, okay, I know what kind of movie this is.
Right.
I'm just bracing myself for it. This movie is dumb.
I agree.
But
so Julia hops in the car.
She drives all the way to
whatever the original town was.
Back, not Seattle, but like near Seattle.
Yeah. Goes to
his dorm.
Holt's dorm, figures out what class he's in, goes to that class. The professor is
Johnny Galecki.
Johnny Galecki.
He's all being weird. He like calls her out. Like
yeah, because she's standing in the back of the class. Have you ever been to a huge lecture? Probably
no, I've
not. Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. I went to. I mean, just shit happens like that all the time.
Okay,
move on.
All right, I will. And at his dorm, she finds a key. This is another stupid thing. I can't believe how many stupid things are in this movie. She finds this old gothic Castlevania-ass key that she's like, all right, I guess I have this key now. She leaves the lecture. She gets in this elevator, and she's like, oh, I'm going to put this key in this elevator keyhole that I found. And it takes her to a secret basement room.
Right. It's like this underground research group.
Yeah, and this is cool.
Yeah, this is very cool.
Like everything that's happening here, I think is interesting.
Yeah, turns out Gabe is like running this experiment.
Yeah.
On the videotape.
Right. Well, we find we find like a book that he's written, which is called the Samara Paradox or something, which we don't really know exactly.
He's like trying to find afterlife.
Right, because I mean this, and I do like that this movie does treat this the way that I think
that everybody would
treated, which is, oh, this is life after death. This is fundamentally like alters our perception of reality. Let's talk about this. And I do like that, and I like a lot of this stuff. But yeah, he's running this thing where not only is he doing experiments on just this stuff, but he's also spreading it and like setting up. They call them tales, where you
watch it and then you make a copy, and like somebody else has to watch it.
Yep, you make a copy.
But they're either like trying to wait till the last minute or like
they're really pushing their luck.
Yeah.
But they're also, and this is, I don't like this, digital. It's all digital. They're files. You literally just make a copy of the file, which is nothing. That's not, right. You're doing nothing. Like technically, yeah, the file is on there twice, and you're taking up twice as much storage space that way. But like, it's nothing. It's a digital file.
And I think what a lot of people who didn't go to a traditional college would be like, well, that's stupid. Nobody would ever join that group or whatever. But I tell you fucking what, for my psych class that I had my freshman year of college, I had to go and do a research like study.
Yeah.
Like I had to go and sit there in a room by myself and on the computer, like take this test where it would like show me things, and I had to like either like pick like a word that like went along with it or whatever. Like I had to do this. I could have easily been suckered into watching that video.
Sure. Well, once you see it, like you're
fucked.
You have to be in.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
at that
okay.
point. Yeah, it makes sense, but I don't like it.
So in a roundabout, I mean, we get to where.
Well, she manages to avoid watching, and this I think is interesting. She, the main character of this movie, doesn't watch the tape until like halfway through, almost. Mm-hmm. Like she really avoids it for a while. But yeah, she sees it, and then they arrange a tale for it. We're skipping a lot because I don't remember a lot of it. This movie's kind of messy. She tries to make a copy, but it doesn't copy.
Right, because the file is now bigger.
Right,
than
and they're like,
what it previously was.
Yeah, they're like, well, you just copied it, right? How is it bigger? And they're like, well, I don't know, it's bigger. They find out that there's like more stuff in it. They find like there's like one hidden frame that they see. It's like flashes, and she's like, oh, okay, that's weird.
It was the bird that she had like seen earlier that day or whatever.
Yeah, so like the way that in the other movies, people were seeing stuff from the tape. Like she saw something from the tape that she's like, that's not from the tape, but it was. They like see an image of it, and this is not a thing. I want to be very clear about this. They're like, oh, this frame contains another movie, like more stuff in it.
Movieception.
Yeah, Movieception. So they extrapolate
this now becomes like Julia's
special thing.
Videotape.
Yeah.
Like specifically for her.
And I do like this. They don't, she doesn't want Holt to see it.
Right.
She's like, even though he's already cursed, or even he might be he's cleared because Julia saw it, but they just kind of treat it like we don't know what this new tape will do. Obviously, there is a power to watching tapes. So
she's really the only one that knows the images in it.
Yeah.
And so she's leading, going around and doing all this stuff. They go back to the Morgans.
Yeah. And
they're doing all this research. Mm-hmm. Turns out like at this diner, like this bed and breakfast that they're staying at, there's a picture of this girl that was in Julia's vision.
Right.
Turns out it's Evelyn, Samara's mother.
Sissy Spacek. Not played by her.
Not played by her. It's a younger woman in this movie. Mm-hmm. So Julia also has like these like visions with Samara, has like reached out and like grabbed her hand. Mm-hmm. And of course, just like in all the other movies, it's like burned her or like scorched her skin or whatever.
There's like hand marks.
And Gabe John Galecki like took a picture of her hand.
Oh, yeah.
And like as Holt and Julia had went off to the town, Gabe kind of like realized, he's like, oh, like I think what's written on her hand is Braille.
All right, which is very obvious the minute you see it. It's
Yeah,
like,
that it's
oh,
just
it's all
these, like,
these dots that
certain
look like
bumps or
Braille.
whatever.
I wonder if it's Braille.
Right. And
it is.
And nobody fucking reads this till the end of the movie, and we'll get to that.
Well, it's
but
a twist, yeah.
yes, so she's interviewing these people in this town to find out like what happened to Evelyn, because
Yeah.
apparently that's where her story is trying
What
to
do you
push her.
know?
And so we meet the town priest, or what he was the priest.
Yeah, it's a very signs thing.
Yes.
He used to be the priest. He's given up.
It doesn't matter. He's played by who? Vincent D'Onofrio.
aka Jurassic World.
Yes, of
The bad
Jurassic
guy.
World fame.
By
Or
the
what
way-
did we say? Not Criminal Minds. I always say Criminal Minds. It's Law and Order.
Law and Order, yeah. Johnny Galecki was in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Did
Yeah,
you know
he's
that
the
was him?
son. Yes.
I did not know that was
I
him.
never like put that on his IMDb, but yeah. I mean, I think I tell you that every Christmas.
You
I'm
probably
like,
do.
look, Big
Yeah.
Bang Theory.
I do not have the memory you do. So
It's amazing.
it is.
And a curse.
Opposites attract.
So
He's blind. Have we said that?
yes.
Okay.
No, I hadn't said
Okay,
that.
great.
Vincent D'Onofrio's character is blind, so now they're trying to like find the remains of Samara's body so they can burn it, because that will actually set her free.
In Ring 2, this was the first the opening scene of the movie was we found her body after all this time at the bottom of the well. We're gonna cremate it because obviously, and they're like, no, don't, and so they
Bury it,
don't.
yeah.
But right, and so they could have so easily just could have avoided
Right.
this whole thing.
So they go to the graveyard. She's not, her body's not there. Somebody took it in this whole roundabout way. Here we go, people. Here we go.
You hear the Saw music playing? There's a twist coming.
I mean, this is where it's coming from. Turns out Vincent D'Onofrio's character,
not Vincent.
I don't
D'Onofrio.
remember his name. I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
The priest kidnapped Evelyn, kept her in either the church basement or his basement, raped her,
Ooh.
and she then I think got out, ran away to the nunnery to have Samara. So here we go again.
So he's her father.
So Vincent D'Onofrio is
His character.
is Samara's father. So here we go again with this. If you're born out of rape, you are instantly
Yeah.
a demon. I do not like this.
I thought we were over this. Like we did this back in the 80s with Freddy
With
Krueger.
Freddy
I thought
Krueger.
we were done.
Yeah, I don't like this. I can't stress this enough to people
Yeah.
that you are not where you're born.
Right. The circumstances
From-
of your birth have nothing,
Have nothing.
to do with your character.
are nothing.
Yeah.
People have done interviews with children of murderers and all this. That is not where you are from.
Right. That's not you.
Right. And I hate that, in 2017, here we fucking are again saying that because you're born out of rape, of course you're going to be a demon.
Mm-hmm.
So he had blinded himself, so Samara couldn't kill him.
This is cool. He
That
can't
is
watch
cool.
the tape.
So
I do like this. He can't watch the tape. He can't. And I don't know for sure that Samara's thing is works just visually. I think it does.
I
This
think
movie
it's
kind
because
of
she's so
established-
scary that you instantly die.
I don't think-
Which is how I feel about everything.
I don't-
That's how I feel about frogs. If seriously one gets too close to me, I'm just gonna
Okay,
drop
well,
dead.
That's scary. I don't think necessarily that it's that she's so scary you die. I think she's actively killing you.
Maybe. But this is where it turns into Don't Breathe, because Julia is now in the house alone with the priest and kind of figures all this shit out. And of course he's like, oh, young girl, I'm going to capture you and
Yeah,
do the
yep.
exact same thing to you because I didn't learn my goddamn lesson the first time.
Right. What are you going to have a Samara 2?
Yeah,
You're going to have
yeah.
a little Samara 2 on your hands?
She breaks out.
Yeah.
Samara comes out of a phone.
Okay.
Kind of.
All right. Let's talk about this because
You
from
were so excited.
The minute this movie started, the minute I heard about this movie, I was like, okay, she's going to come out of a phone. That's going to be the big
That's
twist
like
at the
the
end
new,
of the movie.
could she come out of a phone?
Right.
These are the questions that they're trying to answer.
Obviously, this is going to happen. All right, Jody, can I tell you how blue balls I am because of this movie?
Yes, I know.
It is so frustrating because there's this thing about cicadas. They're coming back, predicting predicting the 2021 thing about cicadas. And they're everywhere. There's bugs everywhere. And the video's playing. Starts on the phone. You see her coming out from the well. Great. The phone gets knocked away. This is during the fight with the priest. Because Julia's watched the tape and she's cursed, and so it's coming for her.
Right.
And it's playing on her phone. It gets knocked away. These cicadas come buzzing in. They cover the phone. They swarm it. Samara.
And grow to a Samara shape and then reveals herself.
No.
I know. It's
Have her
very
come out of the phone.
How do you want her to do that, though?
I don't care. I want her to be a tiny Samara.
No.
I want her to be a tiny phone-sized Samara. I honestly think...
I want a full-size body Samara to cut, like Mary Poppins' bag, come out of it.
Well, I honestly do think that they could have just had her like start to emerge like a tiny hand that then grows. Like she literally just expands to her. Like you could do it and it wouldn't look stupid. They just didn't want to do that.
What ends up happening is she looks at the priest.
The priest. Dear old dad.
Restores his vision.
Yes.
And kills him.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That almost makes up for how frustratingly tantalizing they made it, not having her come out of the phone.
Did I say that he had blinded himself? Yes, we did say that. Okay.
So he sees again, and he's like, the first sight that I see is my daughter, who then kills me. Oh,
right.
Great.
Good. They find the body. They burn the body.
Yep.
This thing is fucking over.
Wait.
But wait, we
still have 30 minutes left of this.
Seriously, it's like that. Whereas like Gabe had come to tell Holt and Julia about the braille on her hand, but he got into a car accident.
Yeah, this was earlier in the movie. We saw him in the car
and had died. Mm-hmm. But he left a voice message on Holt's phone. They finally get reception. He's listening to it.
Just like the Amazing
Spider-Man. So he sees the picture and he's typing into like braille.com.
He's
like how to.
He literally has to like fill in the dots to be like, all right, here's the braille. It's these 3 dots instead of
Meanwhile,
like
Julia's kind of like getting out of the shower. Her hair is wet. She's like looking in the foggy mirror, and you can see it. Like it's spelling out rebirth.
Yeah.
And Samara has now been reborn in Julia's body.
Well, she does the coughing thing.
Where she pulls out
hair. And it's just a clump of hair at the end. It's not like a
thing. No, I
think
the cicada comes out of it.
Yeah. Ugh. But yeah, she's Samara now. So it's Ring 2.
Right. But then it ends. I thought it was a good twist.
Yeah. It was fine. There was a lot about this movie that was fine. Some of it was good. Most of it was just like, yeah, all right. Like, I feel like this movie just looks and feels like every movie that came out in like 2017 times.
Yeah, but this had the ties to something that was super scary for the time.
Right.
So I remember it coming out. And of course, me being Jody, I was like, I'm not watching that.
I don't want any part of that.
I do not want to watch that.
Nope. I want to go back to my thing that I started in the first episode where I was putting myself in these movies because I never do that. If I were in The Ring, I would simply not watch The Ring.
That's a good plan. I probably would also do that because you know me.
Yeah, you would be too scared. If anybody,
let me ask you this:
Yeah.
If you see like one frame of the movie, do you get cursed?
I don't think
or
so.
Do you have to watch the whole thing?
I believe it was in one of the Japanese ones. Somebody like comes in at the very last minute and is like, oh no, and then learns about it. It's like, oh, am I okay? And they're like, yeah, you only saw like just a bit of it. You're fine. Just don't watch
that.
anymore.
I'd be fine because you know, I would see like that first scene and I'd be like, nope,
Yeah.
and I would be like, bye.
You actually might be the most suited for
of
these movies because you just feel like, oh, I'm not going to watch this.
I simply will not watch it.
Right. Even if I feel like in our real world where there's nothing that exists like this, if somebody just said, here's a tape that kills you if you watch it, let's put it on, you'd be like, I'd
be a hard no.
Right.
Yeah.
But Matthew Lillard's in it. You're like,
I don't care.
Great. Enjoy watching
that. I seriously would be like, nope. All right, Alex.
Yeah.
Tell me what makes this scary.
Do I need to? Do I even need
No,
to?
let me tell you what
Right.
makes it scary.
Please.
These fucking faces make it scary.
Well, faces are such a easy window for people to identify.
I've said it time and time again. Babies. That's how they like first learn the world is like mom's symmetrical face, and like that's how you recognize that something is kind and human, and
it's how you read emotion.
It's the same thing we do when we make like cartoons. Oh, like we want the dog to be really cute. We're gonna give it really big eyes and whatever. And so like when you completely just distort that all to hell, and I hate how this sounds. because I do know that there are people out there with like skeletal deformities, and that does not bother me.
Right.
It's when it's done with like evil intent,
Right.
or like demonic
And that's
possession. And I just want people to like know that like I don't see somebody out in the wild who might have a physical deformity and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is a very key factor in a lot of these things where you do see some image that looks like this, where there is intention of something sinister happening.
Right.
Like, when you see these faces in these movies that like something evil has happened. And it's not just because the face is creepy, it's because of like the context of the movie and everything. So these faces, and especially when they come as a surprise, like this movie, like you said, loves to do that, where somebody gets got by Samara, you don't see their face right away,
right?
Like it comes later. There's a delay there. But what makes Samara scary? What makes Sadako scary? Well, a lot of things. One, she's
unstoppable.
Yeah, she really is. I feel like, and this is kind of just a thing in horror movies where you want to have sequels, so you're just going to undo what happened in the last one to make them come back and make them unstoppable. But they try so many things to stop her, and she's just not stopped. Even if you were to just take the context of the first movie, they don't stop her. There is no way in that movie of stopping her. They try to do the thing of finding her body, of bringing peace, of breaking the spell, but they can't. You can't do that. You can only spread it to the next person. This, I think, is maybe one of the scariest things about the movies, is the idea that in order to save yourself, you have to spread this to somebody else.
Which we've also said is kind of like It Follows.
Yes.
Will then like kind of take that the next step further, which I'm sure we'll get to one day talking about on this podcast. So
for sure. And It Follows has a specific flavor of it coming back to you, and it's never really. I don't believe that's a thing in this movie. You're just clear,
right?
Which I do think that makes It Follows a little scarier in that regard.
Absolutely.
There's that dread
scary.
of it'll always be coming back.
Let me tell you, I think It Follows is very scary too.
For sure. But so and things that are. No surprise. Things that spread, things that are like viral and like spread out, creep me out. And it has even before the times
all
we
this
live.
Stuff, yeah. You had like a really big problem with like germs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like that's probably more embedded in you.
Maybe
that doesn't bother me as much.
Right. I think it's not so much like spreading and germs and stuff. I think it's just the idea of like, hey, this thing that starts out like tiny and isolated is gonna like creep out into the whole world. Now everyone's gonna be affected by this. It like the Purge did this at the end of the first Purge, the fourth movie, the first Purge, where like, all right, well, great, we did the experiment, it was a success, we're gonna roll it out nationwide, and that creeps me out because I'm just like, ooh, this thing that used to be like this small little thing is now growing and getting bigger, and it's evil. Right. And this movie does that. So there's a lot to say about the inevitability of death. And just the idea of like, okay, so
knowing when it's coming,
right? Having a date, having a timestamp for your death has been such a staple of horror that it's so effective. Like we all have this. There's this huge debate of like, do you want to know when you're going to die? And I think most people are solidly in the. I would obviously rather not know.
Yeah,
because it is so creepy. Just the idea of it, and that was like I said, that movie Countdown played on that to a T, which is you literally have a clock counting down to your death. And I think these movies do a good job of lampshading that, especially the first two and the Japanese one. They constantly, the first movie and the Japanese one have this running theme where you see the date displayed because you know when she watched it.
Yes.
You know how many days she has left. I think even in the American one, they say like day 1, day 2.
Yes,
so like you're counting down to when she has no time left. And that's just naturally unsettling to us as creatures who fear death. We have the tape, obviously very unsettling. I talked about how the analog nature of it, there's something so tactile about it that like digital stuff just like it just exists. There's nothing really tangible to it. A videotape exists. It's a thing that you can see. and you can destroy, but it might not matter. You have to put it in and play it. It makes a sound. The static is just it feels real in a way that digital stuff just doesn't. It just feels like that just exists out there. But like physical analog media just feels creepier and more archaic. Obviously, we're millennials. We're younger. We're like we have DVD. We have streaming. We don't even have DVDs at this point. So this stuff does feel a little ancient to us, but we grew up with it. We grew up with videotapes, so there's that nostalgia factor to it. And at the time, that really wasn't nostalgia so much as just like, it's just it. DVDs, I think, were starting at this time.
Yeah, just starting, really.
So, and then you have the idea of, especially, let's get into the end of the movie where she crawls out of the TV. Why is that scary?
Because nothing does that.
Right. This is so, inhuman, so unnatural. Obviously, it's a TV, but, like, this is so unrealistic, but the movie plays it straight. It's like, this is just happening. And we talked about, like, dolls and how, like, living dolls and stuff. The idea of, like, and I know we're talking about this late at night. You're getting creeped out. I can feel it. But when you think you're alone and you're suddenly not.
Yeah.
Like, that's just right there. That's terrifying. So you're watching this video. You're like, oh, this is a creepy video, but I'm just watching a video. I'm safe in my own home. And then there's a demon in your room. It crawled out of your TV. Ruined the floor because all the carpet's now wet.
TV, the Cindy is leaking.
The Cindy is leaking. Samara's obviously creepy. She's done in a way. She has like a pale face. She's disturbing.
Dude, the black hair.
Yeah.
The black long hair.
You can't see her face. She's
hidden. When like people I think this is, I've never seen The Grudge. I think this is a thing in there too, where it's just like, there's just like hair kind of found everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is my entire life. I have very long, dark hair. And so now I'm just instantly creeped out whenever there's hair.
Right. Whenever you turn around, you're like, I'm
like, oh my God. Well, like I'll find hair.
Right,
like,
right.
Because I shed like an animal, but.
Right. This hair motif is creepy. We can't get into why, because we'll be here all day if we just like analyze every single detail of it, but hair is creepy. I'm sorry. It just is.
Well, hair over the face, you're like hiding, obviously hiding
for
something.
Sure, hiding it. Again, the Japanese one, you don't really see Sadako's face, so she doesn't really have that like disturbing
old man face.
Old man face. Obviously, the idea of like something that you think is supposed to be this little girl looking like that is, there's a, what's the term? Discordant? Dissonant, yeah.
I think I've said that before on this podcast.
Probably have,
we've been trying to get to that, but
yeah, it's dissonant, where you're like, oh, it should look like this, but instead it looks like that. So your mind is like reeling from that. Plus, it's just a naturally scary face.
Right.
In the Japanese one, you kind of only barely see her face, but it's like pale and just inhuman. And so it's creepy. And that's what makes it scary.
I agree.
And I had a lot of fun here today.
I'm glad you did.
I prepared another one of my games, but really I couldn't really think of anything great. I have a list of movies that you didn't know were remakes, and I was going to kind of make you guess which ones were and weren't remakes, but there are not really that many horror ones on here. So we'll go through it real quick. Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
Okay. Jaws.
No,
not a remake. It's an adaptation, but not a remake. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the Disney cartoon.
I mean, I guess yes. It's a Han Christian's whatever.
Yes, but I'm not talking adaptation. I'm talking remake.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
It was like a 1901 like Italian movie or something
Italiano.
like that. Jungle to Jungle. You know this movie.
I would say no.
It is.
It is?
There's a French movie that has like the same premise. Yeah. And The Sound of Music.
I mean, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, German. Which makes sense.
But also
choice.
doesn't. Yeah.
So there's a German movie, Sound of Music. I don't believe it was a musical. I think it was kind of like Little Shop of Horrors straight, and then they made a musical, and then they made the movie musical. So some of those less horrifying than others. Sound of Music, very scary.
Very.
Very scary.
Oh my gosh, I was in Sound of Music.
Were you?
That was the most boring show I was ever in.
Boy.
Ever.
It's not a very exciting one.
No.
Well, this was a very exciting episode, I thought. I was excited to watch these movies because, like I said, these are cultural touchstones.
I'm so happy we're done.
Yeah, you were dreading it. You have not been sleeping well.
No, I really haven't.
I'm really glad.
I will continue kind of to dread next week.
I'm dreading it so much.
But I'm also very excited because
Jody,
these make for the best episodes.
I feel like I'm still recovering from the last episode.
Honestly, last year does not seem that long ago when we talked about the worst horror movies.
I needed a vacation after that. We've taken many. I still want more. The worst horror movies, what we do is we rank them. And I'm excited.
We battle royale this bitch.
That's right.
But we need some movies that you think are the worst horror movies. So this is when you have to tweet at us.
That's right.
Right now.
Yes.
Do it. Do it now.
Do it. Come on, kill me. I'm here.
No, we talked about them last week.
Sorry.
But yes, I already said my Twitter at CleverGirl, the letter F and the letter X. You can find Mr. Red at
Mr. Red Plays at Mr. Red Plays. Mr. is always spelled out the long way.
Yes. And you can also tweet the show at Makes It Scary.
That's right.
So
I hope you do, because we need people to share in this horror with us. Not the horror of the movies, the worst ones.
The worst ones. Okay, well, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to take this. Hello?